Hello, everybody. This is Matthew Brand. Welcome to the Matt and Pre podcast. And I want to talk about a phrase that you may heard if you've ever listened to a political debate when it comes to guns or police, and that is, "It's just my time to go." Very often, somebody who is like pro gun or pro police or pro use of force or pro use of deadly force will argue, what would you do during a what I like to call a big bad wolf scenario, right? And basically, when you have a person who is committing a home invasion, announcing themselves and whatnot. Now, somebody who has a firearm or some type of tool to defend themselves or the legal right to defend themselves may very well do so, right? They will use whatever tools they have available to them to protect themselves, which is what I describe as part of the big bad wolf scenario. A lot of people, like I said, use swords, knives, bow and arrows, and some people do use firearms. But the point is that is typical. It's very typical that some people like to fight, right? They'll grab whatever's available to them. Some people run, some people freeze. It's just natural human behavior. And I'm not insulting anybody who falls in any of those categories. However, when brought to that question, a lot of I'll just say far left ideologues, because it usually is those people on the far left who feel this particular way, not regular people. Not I'm not saying Democrats feel this way. I'm not saying people on the left, left wing people feel this way. Particularly left wing ideologues, people who are on the really far left. They speak in politics. They can't contradict any opinions. When they fall into a place where it just doesn't make any logical sense anymore, because they have to hold a certain opinion no matter what. Sometimes it's because that's their job. Sometimes it's because they have to hold face for whatever their own business is, and sometimes that's what they do as a debater. Like they know what they do in real life, but for show they're going to say one thing. And some people really are far left ideologues, and they try to believe the nonsense that's coming out of their mouth. But this is one of those type of arguments. It doesn't make sense. However, I will say that it's often not addressed why it doesn't make sense. A lot of people just look at them like they're like, okay, I guess, because it's kind of a personal choice. But that's the first part of it. It's a personal choice. That doesn't, just because you feel like it's your time to go, does not mean that someone else should feel like it's their time to go because someone else wants to do them harm. That's nonsense. Now, you can argue over the reasons the encounter occurred, but when you're just talking about somebody came in, broke in your house to get something, and then now they want to kill you because you're a witness or some other stuff like that. That is not fair to place that burden upon someone else to just take it because doing something else would be just as equally morally wrong. No, you started it. That's not my fault. So number two, so one, I don't believe in the first place. That's number one. Like most of the people don't really believe that, and even the people who really do try to convince themselves of that because they are actually ideologues, not just for their job. They're just saying that not in the particular situation. When the actual situation occurs, most people are extremely on the other end of that spectrum. They scream at the top of their lungs. They freak out. Right. Call the police. Right. We all know about the people who are super anti-police, and then during the riots, they were just blowing up 911. So this happens. Now, I'm not saying pro-police, anti-police. I'm just saying what people very often say does not often match what they do. That's what I'm saying. Second part of why I really don't care much for that argument, other than, okay, so the second part would be that's a personal choice, right? That should not be forced on other people. I said that part already. Number three, the third reason I don't really care for that argument, right? Because, oh, it's just my time to go. It really, and this I think is extremely important, it really shows that they're not valuing somebody else, right? Like a loved one, someone they really care about. What if they're the person who's going to be assaulted? Then what? I'm not saying that you should purchase a firearm to protect them. I'm not saying that you should, use a sword or a bow and arrow, but you're really going to just say, because what you're saying to yourself applies to the person that you love very deeply. A lot of people have not gotten to the point in their life where and that's true. They haven't gotten to that point. I'm not insulting them. They just haven't gotten to that point where someone they love more than anything in the world, right? They can't do without, exists. It's just them. They're the number one in their life. So, and of course, psychologically speaking, it's hard for us to value ourselves because guess what? We also know how horrible we are. But when it's somebody else that we really, really love and we really, really care for, and we can't imagine life without them, is it just their time to go? Is it that nonchalantly of a thing? Oh, well, it's just their time to go. That you wouldn't call the police or grab a firearm. And the problem with the concept of the police, what a lot of people do understand when they look into this stuff, is they don't teleport. So, yes, you may call 911 and they may show up tomorrow. They may show up in 4 hours. I'm from the Detroit. I mean, just being honest, a lot of the times when bad stuff happened, the police didn't show up anytime soon. And when they did, nobody's going to say anything. Nothing's going to happen a lot of the times. And all that people know from it is you called the police on them. So now they're even twice as angry as they were the first time you had to deal with them. That is a reality, right? And if you know to deal with that, you may prepare yourself in a particular way. Who's to say, and this is maybe a fourth and also important question or point I want to make, who's to say you're going to die? What if they leave you in a situation that's more horrible than death, that's more painful and everlasting, your own personal hell, right, on earth that you have to deal with for the rest of your life? You're okay with that? What if they do that to your loved one? It's just something to think about. So that's something I wanted to address with that phrase. I hear it brought up often, but I never really. It's kind of brought up at the end of a, like I said, ideologue argument against firearms and police. But because it's brought up at the end of a debate or something, it's never really. People don't very often go up into the points of how much it doesn't make sense. And I want to do that with this. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. You let me know what you think. Have you heard this argument before? Have you ever questioned like how stupid it sounds? Do you agree with that? Do you feel like, oh, it's just my time to go? And why is my life more important than the bad guys? What about someone that you really, really love? Like, is their life, do you really feel like, okay, well, I would miss them, but, why is that person's life more important than the bad guys, right? Somebody you love more than anything in the world. You let me know what you feel about that. If you've watched this video, I know very many people won't see it, but thank you for tuning in. Peace.